Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation. It is September and it's National Healthy Aging Month. So in today's video, we're going to focus on different ways and strategies that one might navigate the waters of aging successfully, what that means, both on a medical front as well as a physical exercise front. Again, I'm Rene Ruiz, Area Director of Business Development with Civitas Senior Living. And I am here today with Dr. Deepa Varshney with Central Texas Rehab and Dave Manzer of ElderFit. So if you guys wouldn't mind giving us a quick introduction of yourselves, so you know what you do here and what you plan to talk to us about a little bit.
Sure.
Would you want to start?
Sure, yeah. I'm Dr. Varshney. I'm an internal medicine trained physician. I've been working in rehab hospitals for the last about 7 to 9 years now. So my role here is as medical director for Central Texas Rehabilitation Hospital.
Okay, my name is Dave Manzer, and as the t-shirt says, I'm with ElderFit. We are a startup fitness marketplace. And what that means is that we are trying to make it easier for seniors to find trainers that are local to them and are ready to come in and meet them one-on-one, either in their apartment or community gym or a rec center or a church or wherever, and provide them with practical, functional fitness exercise that gives them, better outcomes, more mobility, independence, and quality of life.
Perfect. Thank you. How exciting. Thanks again for joining us today. So Dr. Varshney, let's kind of just dive in a little bit. So, Healthy Aging Month, it's recognized as a time to celebrate life and the positive aspects of growing older. As we age, that we become aware of our physical and mental, as well as dietary and social needs. They're changing, constantly. And again, that doesn't mean that they've lost their control, right? That they can still take charge of their well-being at any point in time. Obviously, the sooner is better rather than later. But what, in your opinion, does healthy aging wellness mean?
Yeah, well, I think healthy aging is a combination of things. It's maintaining your social connections and contact with family and friends. It also means a healthy lifestyle, which includes diet as well as exercise and continued movement. And then it also means keeping up with your medical checks with your physicians. So making sure all your medications are being taken appropriately and that you're getting all your routine examinations. Thank
you. And so healthy aging, why is it so important? Why is that critical?
I think for just quality of life,
okay.
Because I think sometimes we have an image in our head of aging, and sometimes that can be limiting, but we can continue to do all the things that we've loved, and it might be an adjustment in some form or fashion, but I think to maintain a quality of life, we should try to do all the things I just mentioned.
Perfect, thank you. There are 3 types of aging. Can you tell me a little bit about those 3?
Yeah, so there's your body, how your body is doing. That's, a combination of things, your genetics as well as how you're taking care of yourself. There's also psychological aging. Sometimes we tell ourselves we're a certain age and we can no longer do certain things. And then there's social aging, which sometimes we get isolated with time if we're not in connection with our friends and family.
Absolutely. And a good healthy aging model, what does that look like?
Well, I think there's a couple of outlines that have been given, and one of them I know about is the World Health Organization, and they mentioned the intrinsic, which was the physical and mental,
okay,
the social and the political environment, and then also interaction with the environment around you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. In your opinion, what is the key to successful aging?
Being free of disability or disease, continuing to have good cognitive function and physical ability, and then interacting with others.
Perfect, thank you. So there are 10 habits that I've done a little bit of research on things that can help promote healthy aging. So some of those are just like you said, exercising regularly, you're staying connected with family and friends, visiting your doctor regularly, forgetting those aging myths that are out there, right? We all kind of fall, prey to those sometimes. Taking medications as prescribed, and not forgetting. So I think a lot of times as people age and they start to, it seems like the number of medications in many cases will start to multiply, right, beyond what you even think is reasonable. But you can easily forget or think that you took it, right, when in fact maybe you didn't. So a good, meaningful way of medication management is paramount, I think. Examining physical changes, eating a balanced diet, and then boosting that mental health. And in some cases, at our communities, we also have psychologists that will come out and do talk therapy with our residents if they're, exhibiting signs of depression or anxiety. So help is out there if they need it. I want people to, I think this generation sometimes doesn't embrace that kind of therapy because there's, people think badly of it in their times. And we've kind of grown beyond that. And so encouraging them to kind of take part when needed is something good, I think, that we can offer our residents. But let's dive into these a little bit more. So what would you tell us, of these 10, what steps can we do to kind of embrace those healthy aging ideas?
Well, first of all, it's definitely seeing your doctor and getting your routine annual examinations, and then some of us have to go more often. Every 3 months is sometimes advised, to make sure that your medications are being titrated, your blood work is being checked, and that your blood pressure and other vital signs are being monitored. I do recommend taking medications regularly. Sometimes that means having a box that's labeled Monday to Sunday so that you can make sure that you're not forgetting any of your medications. One of the things that if you go to your primary care doctor annually, they'll make sure that all your vaccinations are up to date, which includes your annual flu, your pneumonia shot, shingle shot for certain age groups, and then now more recently the COVID, of course, which now we're, for our elderly patients, recommending having all 4 COVID shots. And now there's a new booster coming out that's supposed to be more Omicron specific, so we definitely recommend that since our elderly are at highest risk for suffering from COVID.
Sure.
One thing as a hospital-based physician that I always appreciate is a patient who has their medical record on their person when they come in to see a new doctor in the emergency room, or admitted to my facility, which is a rehab hospital, after the hospitalization, because I always like to know exactly what medications they're on and what surgeries they've had. And so it really helps your physicians and nurses take better care of you if you have that all on a card or on your phone in some form of fashion, so that if you're not well, if you're confused, or if you're so sick that you can't give your own information, those that are taking care of you know exactly what your history is.
It's important. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a specific tidbit that I would definitely find helpful. A couple of the other things that you mentioned was keeping a healthy diet, which I think is always easier said than done. A lot of us, proper portion size is something that it's a basic information, but I think a lot of us don't get those if we're being served in a cafeteria or in a restaurant. Those typically are not good proportion sizes. We usually recommend having, the carbohydrates only take up a quarter of the plate, and then the rest of your plate should really be fruits and vegetables and protein. I always recommend minimizing salt, because that's our biggest trigger for high blood pressure as well as heart failure. That basically typically means eating at home for the majority of your meals. If you're eating in a restaurant or eating canned or pre-prepared foods, it will by nature have high salt.
Good to know.
And then I always tell my patients and my family members that staying social is very important. That doesn't mean that if you weren't social in your young age that you have to go out and form a social club, but keeping in touch with those that you're close to, which might be through Zoom if your family's far away, or could be something as simple as going for a walk with a neighbor.
Great. Perfect. And then there's also, advanced planning for healthcare. So getting advanced directives, power of attorney, both medical and durable, those are things that kind of also go along with healthy aging that way. You're of sound mind and abilities when you're making these out, and you're not compromised, which sometimes could prevent some of those documents from happening at a later point if you are cognitive deficits have taken over, that sort of thing. So it's always good planning, I think. And there are several consultants out there that we can recommend if you're ever in the need to do that. Sometimes at the rehab hospitals, even their case managers might help facilitate some of those items for you too. So very good. And then it says it's really time to get moving. It's one of the big things out there. You've touched on it now at least twice. Exercise, physical exercise is very beneficial as we're aging. So Dave, we met recently at a health fair, Austrian for the Elderly's caregiver conference. And I found your group to be extremely unique. If you would give us a quick overview of your Elder Fit. It's new to the scene in Austin. Take it away, Dave. I know that he's a founder. He's actually one of the founders.
I'm a founder, and the reason why I started the company is because my dad fell when he was 89. He might have been 88, but almost 89. Anyway, up there in the 80s, and he was basically on the ground in front of his home for an hour and a half in the dark. Thankfully, he wasn't hurt. Somebody found him and got him up and on his way. The solution my siblings thought was we need the alert device and so on and so forth. But my, maybe slightly more analytical brain or startup brain is going, what's the real problem? It said he fell and then he couldn't get back up. And so many seniors, as they start to age out, past 65 into their 70s, start to lose confidence in their physical abilities. Why? Because our bodies literally are losing muscle mass every year. Dr. Varshney, you know all about that a lot more than I do, but it's significant over the span of a couple decades. So what we're trying to do at ElderFit is address this silver tsunami of boomers that are retiring at a 10,000 person a day clip.
Wow.
And about to swell the age of the retirees and home facilities like, Civitas and hospitals like this. And try to be a little more proactive by getting them the kind of fitness that they need where they're at in their fitness journey so that it's the appropriate level of fitness to challenge them and aim toward goals, life goals even. We want them to think about, what do I want out of fitness? I want to be able to live till I'm 90. I want to be able to play with my grandkids. I want to be able to throw the frisbee if I want to, or maybe just get up and out of the chair and go get coffee and move around more freely around the house. It doesn't matter. We're there to really try to figure that out.
Sure.
And we're developing a platform for that. And as I mentioned, we just launched and we're in a pilot phase.
And so tell us what that looks like. I mean, once you're beyond that pilot phase, what do you anticipate it would look like for?
Yes, our hope is to let technology do what it's good at, which is accelerating the menial tasks. So if a senior is in Georgetown, Texas, or if they're in Malibu, California, it doesn't really matter, and we have an app that's out there, then we are going to have trainers able to match with those seniors based on geolocation, right? And also to some extent, potential specific needs of customers. But our protocols, our exercise plans are pretty rudimentary and designed to scale seniors up from, the basics all the way up to sedentary, all the way to I'm out and able to go to a gym if I want to.
You also touched on something that was unique, which would be a really different type of model, which is peer-to-peer training. So you would train a senior
exactly
on how to be a trainer or close to that, and then 100%. Have them go out and work with the clients, right?
Who better, right?
Yeah.
Is to find trainers who have maintained that active lifestyle and are perfectly capable of being trainers, and some might actually be trainers who are retired, and let them work with their peers.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives purpose for a retiree who's perfectly fit and capable of doing that. And B, it reaches people, that are peers. And so that whole notion of knowing them and trusting them is right there. So we are exploring that as a model.
Yeah.
And we feel like that has tremendous potential because the boomers invented the exercise craze, if you think about it.
Yeah, they're the ninth generation.
Exactly, aerobics and everything from there. And I feel like boomers are going to be a little bit more capable and ready to take that sort of challenge on and respond to the notion of trying to get fit in their senior years.
And so this is kind of, here at Central Texas Rehab, they come in, they're here for maybe like 7 to 14 days in most cases, doing intensive therapy, right? 5 times a week, almost upwards of 3 hours a day.
Right.
When they discharge, they do home health, which would be PT, OTSD, whichever discipline they're approved for. But it's going to be significantly less intense, right? We're looking at maybe it's going to vary, right, based on their needs, but maybe 2 or 3 hours max a week in some cases. So you would come along after or work alongside that home health piece, right?
Absolutely.
To kind of take off there and start at that baseline and just build on that.
Right. I mean, I think we're not telling anybody anything they don't already know, but hospitals are there for taking care of the trauma and making sure that it's safe to send them back home
Sure.
or into a intermediary facility of some kind, and then there's PT that could happen in a clinic or on site, wherever they're living. But eventually that runs out. The insurance stops paying for those kinds of visits, and there's a gap because once that happens, the typical senior regresses.
Sure.
Or they, they basically do it for a little while, but doing it on their own is really a challenge. So where we come in, I believe, is taking the baton from, the traditional medical solutions, hospitals and
Home health.
And so on. And just providing something that's practical and scalable and sustainable for them.
Okay.
So that we can start to progress and not regress or even stay status quo. We want to see them going
Progress,
forward.
yeah.
Right.
Excellent. That's awesome. Approximately, what should an adult or senior adult aim to do physically each week? How many minutes would you estimate?
It varies and really depends on what kind of physical condition they're in right now. What are their underlying physical, ailments or challenges? Do they have a stent in their heart? Like, I mentioned my dad, he has 7 stents, but that does not stop him.
Yeah.
But you need to make sure that you check with your physician first before engaging in physical fitness so that you figure out what's good for me. But our trainers and our protocols are designed to go slowly and really, start with the basics and progress from there. But it's absolutely essential that, about 3 times a week and cardio at least 3, maybe 4 times a week, again, depending on what kind of condition that they're in.
And you would also
not more.
include some light resistance training?
Absolutely. Resistance training is, proven to have a host of benefits. I mean, one of them is just the ability to create more muscle mass so that if you're on the ground and you can't get up, you can get up. The other thing is it rebuilds bone density, and that's a real problem with women who are
Aging.
older, because of their challenges, losing hormones, and bone density is one of the side effects of that. So fitness training that incorporates resistance training, even lifting weights at some point, but that's not something we advocate right away, helps rebuild the bone density, adding more strength to the femur and other parts, maybe the hips, depending on the exercises. So it's all about challenging your muscles even as you age at the level you can, so that it does what it does naturally, which is, aim for efficiency and mobility and adding strength.
Flexibility, everything. Yeah, I mean, there's so much that goes in that. So, the other thing that I think is really beneficial to it is that it kind of also, right, they get endorphins from the exercise, endorphins. So that's really good. So they feel happy, elated, they're energized, they feel better about themselves.
Yeah, not only are the physical benefits there, the mobility, the better foot coordination, but the energy goes up, the appetite often goes up, even the sex drive goes up. For happy couples out there, it's good news. So.
And then there's the social aspect, right? If they're peer-to-peer or even interacting with a trainer, a therapist, those are good. They're socializing, they're talking, they're engaging, they're not just sitting down watching a television isolated, So I think there's a lot of benefits to that. What have you seen here, Dr. Varshney, at Central Texas Rehab with respect to the aging population? What are some of the common ailments that they're coming in here for?
Yeah, probably the more common diagnoses here are for strokes. If they're recovering from an acute stroke in the hospital, they'll transition to our facility to help regain function. A lot of folks have neurologic or muscular disorders like Parkinson's disease. Sometimes it's something simple, just frequent falls with a hip fracture, generalized debility. So those are probably some of the more common, some orthopedic replacements,
Okay.
things of that
So
nature.
a large variety.
It is a fair variety. Mhm.
And are they able to progress? They participate in the therapy?
Yeah, that's what I love about working here. I've worked in an inpatient hospital setting, and then this is kind of post-acute. So they're basically recovering from their acute illness, but they're too ill to go directly home or too weak. And what we'll see is this progression of going from being essentially bedbound and unable to get to the bathroom to a level of independence that they're safe to go home is the goal for our hospital here. So yeah, I see all sorts of improvements with just 3 hours of therapy a day is typically what they get in our facility.
And it's a team of people, right? I mean, you've got the case managers working on the social aspects, the
We've got
therapists,
physical therapists, we've got occupational therapists that work on ADLs and daily
speech therapy,
speech therapists for any cognitive exercises. We have a psychologist here who can help
That's
with
great.
coping mechanisms because everybody is going through big life changes. And then there is a social aspect to it because sometimes there's some group therapies, there's some meeting in the cafeteria. So I find some of our elderly patients really enjoy that part of it as well.
That's great. Perfect. Let's see. So again, I guess to sum it up, we want to see our seniors keep a positive outlook, right? Disposition. We want to make sure that they keep their mind active by reading, engaging in things that they enjoy, maybe doing puzzles. It could be a variety of different things. Increasing their exercise. How many times a week? 3 times a week, roughly? 2
Yeah,
to 3?
3 to 4. I mean, cardio you can do a little more frequently, but in terms of lifting, no more than 3 a week.
Okay, perfect. And then again, keep your body active. Again, yoga, stretching, all those sorts of things can be very beneficial into the aging process. Is there anything else you feel that I've kind of left out or that you would like to touch on?
I would just say that it's a great time to be doing what we're doing because everything that I'm hearing is it's so much more integrated than it used to be because in the past, a hospital would just treat the actual ailment, the broken bone, and then patch you up and send you home and maybe get some in-home physical therapy. But today it's so much more integrated and, we're realizing that the operating system up here has as much power, if not more power, in terms of resulting in positive health outcomes, either in the hospital or at home, than some forms of medicine. Or at least if you don't have that outlook and the fitness and all of the other intangibles in alignment, it's harder to get to that outcome that you're trying to get to with just medicine and traditional healthcare. I mean, it's a interesting time to be doing what you're doing, and it's awesome to see healthcare facilities taking a much more big picture integrative approach. I think it's great.
Me too. Anything that we left off for you?
I would just close with saying age is just a number. I've gotten all sorts of patients here that are 99, 100 years of age, and I would mistake them for 70 or 75 some of the time. So really, age is just a number. We all age differently, and just not to limit ourselves based on a number alone.
Perfect. Well, again, I thank you both so very much for taking time out of your busy schedules to meet with me and share your expertise with our audience. Again, please send us your comments. Did you enjoy the video? Was there something we could have expanded on? We're always happy to follow up. And just stay tuned for next time. Thanks again, and we'll see you then. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.